Good morning. So I'm going to talk about, try to anyway, what I mean by going inward. And why it is so difficult. So, toward the middle to end of the second sit, if I were judging the quality of the sit, I'd have to say that it was more or less mundane, crappy, flat. But there was one element to it. An element is not a very good word to use. In the going in, while the judgments in the tension in the body and in the air were all present as distractions, wanting to make commentary, the pull to go into the substrata of it, the fundamental existence of it. Or last night I said, if you go into the felt sense, what was being pointed to is you're either going into the peaceful, or maybe not peaceful, but the felt sense of resting as the fundamental existence for everything that is going on. And it's not a thing. So if you're going in, you're either resting in, for lack of a better word, this existence, this non-thing, this substrata that is beneath the whole play and actually really composes the whole. And see, I see the light.
Yeah. You are the light.
I wasn't looking at the light this time. I missed it when it went off.
I should have said something.
So I believe what I was saying was, you're either resting in the felt, undefined, existing sense here, which has no quality to it, it just is. Or if there is something on the screen that is driving you nuts, you find the intensity usually in the body, but sometimes all over globally, and that's what you go in on. And the mind will scream like crazy and say, what am I really doing? This is garbage. And you go back to the intensity. And so at some point it just becomes secondhand, it becomes natural. You give up the fight. And so I was sitting here during the second sit, as I always do. It was just ho-hum. Mine started to maybe say, actually it wasn't counting the days this time. Checking off the sessions. It was just whatever. Here I am, whatever. And the natural tendency was to keep falling back into the existence, the isness beneath it that was also generating itself. And the body started to get restless. I could feel the room getting restless, but it was the existence for it. I could feel it's the last 5-10 minutes of the meditation. Usually these bodies are like horses getting ready to go out of the stall. They're ready to go. They've had it. And then the neighbor's race car started to warm up. And while there could be a mental connection, at the felt sense of it was everything is getting ready to bolt. Sure enough, I'm sitting here and keep going back into this existence for it. It started to get so sweet. It was so ordinary that it was just precious. This is life itself. And we overlook and we go, oh, it's so ordinary. Where's the wooey wooey? And the tears started to go up in the eyes. The car is getting louder. The bodies are getting more restless. And the suchness of this existence is just there. And it could feel itself as everything. And yet the mind would still clamor, but even that was felt as part of it. Just one a beautiful taste after the next. And it didn't matter what its quality was. And there was annoying as soon as he started to pull away, the bell would ring. And darn thing had to delay another minute and a half before it did ring, but it did ring. But even that, it was like there was this build-up. And then we got up and went on break, and it keeps going on. You can feel that existence when you go on break. One thing after the next, after the next, after the next, this unfoldment that's always now. And you're the globalness for it. It's not that complicated. And so, the second thing I was going to say, and the light's still on, is how did we lose this? Or better to say, how does it get covered up? Why is it so hard to see something that is so plainly obvious and ever existing? And what I want to use is a memory that came up. You know, everybody is unique and different in their experience of the stuff that blocks them in this life. And so for this one, and perhaps this one's a little more blessed, there was mostly, until maybe age 5 or 6, there was this ability to know being or the existence that was underneath the play. And so the memory that came up must have been about 3. And I really hurt myself on something. I don't think I was bleeding, but I think I bumped myself really bad, and I came stumbling into the house, into the 2-flat. And my mother was there, but she was getting ready to go to somewhere. She was all dressed up. She was getting ready to go someplace. And I collapsed on the floor. And there was this natural response as I collapsed on the floor. I just melted into it. I just melted into the existence that was there, which I do now. I love to collapse on the floor. It's great. But it's the same feeling I get if I would lay down on this floor. I'd go right there. It's just this melting into everything. And so as a little one, I'm crying, I'm hurt, but there was this complete contentment to just collapse in that pain on the floor and let being have it. Now, someone 3 years old does not have the mental capacity to even put that together. It's just happening. There's not the mental capacity that we have now when that happens to go, oh, there it is. And so I was crying on the floor. And of course my mother, being a good mother, came down and grabbed me and held me in her arms and started rocking me and singing, Tommy, Tommy, Tommykins. Actually, she went with Tommy, Tommy, Tommykins. And immediately the connection with being was lost, and it was all about getting comfort from the outside, in this case mother. And so you can see the dynamics that happen. It's not that mother did anything wrong, but she didn't know being. She had lost being. And she did what any mother would do, even if they knew being. She would comfort that child. But over time, the connection with being gets more and more fuzzy until it's completely lost. Because the whole mechanism, being, what does being do with that? You just collapse on the floor and you melt. Are you going to be able to function like that? Absolutely not. Being doesn't know how to function until it establishes a structure and relationship with this world that it is dreaming, which is the purpose of the mother, or the primary caretaker at first. So the pain gets comforted by the mother, and you're soaking in, because you're still a soaker. You don't have a lot of boundary going up. Everything about mother gets absorbed. Your mother, you get that beautiful dual unity experience, the outside holding what you think is the inside. And all of a sudden, the outside has to satisfy you, because you have no inside anymore. You have no more being. And it all gets covered up. And so it's much like retracing your footsteps back to where your being was lost. And how do you do that? In this forum, you sit. And you forego the habit of believing that you are the one that is generating the life and going for the outside things that are going to satisfy you, and trying to escape from the outside things that are going to dissatisfy you. And what better way to do that? You sit. You're sitting with the intention of resting in being. Even if you don't know what it is, the minute the intention is to sit in this, you're sitting in being. And then all the things that keep you from being, all the things that are covering it up, begin to present themselves. I'm no good. You're not hearing me. My body is uncomfortable. I'm in pain. And you go in on it. You sit on it. If it's intensity, you're sitting in the midst of the intensity. If it's a felt sense of nothing that you cannot grab onto, that the mind says is dull and boring, that's where you sit. You sit in what is loudest. And you give it all up. Here I am, for better or worse. And it begins to show itself. How can it not? The intention is, here I am. I'm sitting. Take me, have me. And at some point, grace takes over. It is amazing the depths it can take in the most mundane and simplest things. Okay, so I'm going to open it up before the camera goes off.